Hel- Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Be Relieved, where health science and natural remedies meet. You know that we explore the connection between wellness, healing, and herbal remedies. And today, the power of sound. I'm your host, your health scientist, your herbalist, your life health coach, your friend, your family, Ashlee Nycole, and today I am honored to be joined by Toro Lopez. Annie is an autoimmune advocate. She's a certified aller trainer, musician, and lupus survivor. We love to hear it. And after,
Yes, definitely.
yes, after being diagnosed with lupus in her early 20s, Annie refused to accept that as her diagnosis, that would define her future. So, through intentional healing practices, life changes, meditation, and the therapeutic power of music, she reversed her lupus symptoms and has remained symptom free for more than 20 years. Do you guys hear that? 20 years. So, today I'm excited because we will be discussing her incredible healing journey, the science behind music and wellness, and what attendees can expect from her upcoming presentation at our online summit, Be Released by Sound, on June 20th, 2026. So, Annie, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love the opportunity to talk about music. It's not something that a lot of people necessarily interview me about. I'll talk about my cookbook and they want to talk about food and they want to talk about my writing or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I love that. But when I get to talk about music,
Mm-hmm.
that's very special. That's
Oh,
very special. So thank
I
you for
kind
having
of
me here.
feel that from when you're talking. I can actually like feel the energy of just a connection there. So I'm really excited to
Yeah,
talk
for
about it.
sure. Me
Yeah.
too.
I guess to kind of begin, I would love for our audience to get to know you a little better. So, for
Sure.
those hearing your story for the first time, can you take us back to your early 20s and kind of share what it was like receiving that lupus diagnosis?
Yeah, I sure can. And I was diagnosed when I was 23.
Mm.
I had it, I'm sure, since I was at least 18.
Oh, wow.
Um, just because of certain, symptoms that I had. I had my nodes phenomenon, which if your listeners know what that is, um, and other things that were autoimmune that I didn't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was fortunate that I had a doctor who listened to me. And I
Mm.
will also say, you don't have to settle for a doctor ever. Like you can
Hmm.
always keep looking
Yeah.
and, to find someone who hears you because we're so dismissed. Like
Hmm.
as women, especially are the, medical profession can just dismisses us.
Yeah.
And so, it's important to feel heard. And that's
Yeah.
throughout, you know, your health journey.
Yes.
Um, and so I kept having transient symptoms, but serious things.
Yeah.
And so my doctor finally was like, "Oh, I want to test you for lupus." And I was like, "Okay." Like, I didn't know what it was. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
have any idea. I was like, "Okay, whatever. Another test." Right.
Yeah.
And so I remember very vividly, like, my doctor and I ended up having like a 25-year relationship because,
Mm.
and which was really helpful.
Yes.
Um, And I remember the look on her face when she walked in the door and she was like, "You're like, the numbers are just off the charts." And,
Mm.
I've heard many times in my life, we've never seen this before. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
kind of a background all the time. My
Yeah.
husband and I just laugh. So, but, she was like, "This is really off the charts." And it, it took me a while to understand what that meant at all.
Hmm.
Like it's so complicated. Lupus is a very complex, you know, autoimmune condition.
Yeah.
Um, and I hesitate to use the word disease. I mean, not that it doesn't fit,
Hmm.
but I do like to use the word condition
Hmm.
because of that context of non-permanence.
Yeah.
And so, um, anyway, it was a lot. It's very, for your listeners who have lupus, like, I hear you. It's so hard. It's so much. And,
Yeah.
it's the disease itself attacks your own body.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't like even understand what the mechanisms of that is. And I do go
Mm-hmm.
into that,
Mm-hmm.
the mechanisms of lupus, because that helped me to visualize and take control of my own immune system and what was happening inside my body.
Yeah.
And that really came from that,
Mm-hmm.
deep an understanding as I could get for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was the beginning. That was how it started.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. I mean, I feel like we also just, it's okay to advocate for yourself. And also, like you said, keep going until you find a doctor that resonates with you. You don't have to make a decision right away. I think that's so
Right.
important. I think that so many people can relate to that moment, when their health takes an unexpected turn, whether it's a autoimmune condition, like you mentioned, or even chronic stress or, another health challenge. It often forces us
Exactly.
to look at our lives differently in a sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Many-
Reassess and all of those things, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
putting, what's important and what's, all of that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, those things run through your mind. Many people
Yeah.
hear a diagnosis and immediately begin preparing for a lifetime of managing
Yeah.
symptoms.
Well, and that's what you're being told,
Yeah.
right? So not only, it's like the medical community is absolutely telling you, I mean, I heard it more than once, you're going to have this disease and symptoms of this disease and this condition
Mm-hmm.
until you die, and you will die
Mm,
of it.
yeah.
I mean, they
That's what they
just flat
say.
out say that to you.
Yeah.
And, I get, and it, not that it doesn't happen. I'm not minimizing the fact that
Mm-hmm.
that is a reality for many,
Many people.
many people.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And so, it's a very, it's completely altering, right? You're like,
Yeah.
now what?
Yeah. For sure.
Right? Now what? How much can I do? I remember really vividly, when my son was born. I was advised not to have children. I did have two
Mm-hmm.
healthy children with
That's
very
amazing.
difficult pregnancies.
Mm,
Um, but thinking, how should I live? And I can't, that phrase, I was just thinking about it the other day, how many times, and it was like, because I don't think that anymore. Like, I feel very
mhm.
purposed.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, I, like, those words just kept going through my mind, and I had no answers. I'm like,
Mm,
I don't know.
yeah.
Like, how much can I do? Like, how much? And now, like, people talk with autoimmune conditions in terms of spoons, like the
Mhm.
spoon theory.
Yeah.
And I find that really helpful. I didn't have
Mhm.
that back then, but
Yeah.
my friends, we communicate that way. Like, I don't have the
Yes.
spoons today, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll be there next week. So,
Yeah. And that's
yeah,
honest. And I
yeah,
love that we have different language now for it,
right.
and starting to understand it. So much research. I know with me being a health scientist, that's my duty is to research
Yes, I
something
love that.
so
Yeah,
thoroughly, because there are options, and there's holistic
exactly.
options as well. Just have to be consistent and persistent. And I think that you can have a great
Hmm.
solution, like,
Yeah, and oh, go ahead. No, no, I
oh,
didn't
go
want
ahead.
to go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say like that. That's kind of part of what I wanted to say when I said like I found a doctor who I listened to me and heard
Hmm.
me, or a naturopath, or
Hmm.
a there are other pathways, but don't stop. Like
Yeah,
don't, you're not hurting anyone's feelings.
exactly.
If you're like, I think a lot of us worry about that.
Mm,
Like, oh, I'm gonna stay with, I don't. That's part of making ourselves small, right? But
hmm.
I'm not gonna. And I have Kaiser here in Colorado, which I actually love as
Hmm.
insurance goes. Um, but I kept looking. The doctor I have now, I really really like her. She hears me. I feel seen,
Yeah.
and she was number 5
Mm,
when I got and they were all
yeah.
like, keep looking.
Yeah.
So find,
Yeah.
like you said, advocate, self advocate.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's
And
important.
it's so important, especially like you mentioned with us women, We have to
Mm-hmm.
advocate for ourselves. And sometimes if you have
Yeah.
a loved one, if you have a partner, train them up too to advocate for you. Ask certain
Right.
questions if you're, unable to at the time, because it is a lot to deal with your condition, diagnosis, or whatever you're going through, and to advocate on your behalf. Sometimes I spoke to this doctor recently, and he said, I love when clients or patients come in already knowing what is going on in their body, because they are the
Yeah.
best person to ask. And I wish all doctors took that
Right.
approach, because it is your body. You are experiencing something,
Exactly.
and we should be able to communicate
Exactly.
that so we can actually get to the bottom of things.
Yes.
Like you
And even and that goes with listening to your body and hearing your body too, right? Like a
Yes.
lot of us are just taught like for so many reasons. I mean, that we don't matter, or our bodies don't matter, or
Mhm.
whatever, and that gets suppressed, and like we were
Mhm.
saying earlier, going into a doctor's office and being dismissed as well plays into that too. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not even, I mean, it took from me, I'm going to take a question, I'm going to take one of your questions out of order here, but
That's okay.
it took from me when I was in therapy for the first time. I had a couple therapists, but it was for me to, um, my therapist sent me to a massage therapist because I
Mm,
wasn't living in my body.
mm,
So real. And that was when I really recognized, I think, the healing power of music. I had to
mm.
really think about that.
Yeah.
I give that a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Um, and it was very important to learn to live in my own body, listen to my body, which goes along with what we're saying, right? Which is
Mhm.
advocate for yourself. It's hard to
Absolutely.
advocate for yourself when you don't even listen to your body enough to slow down, or whatever, fill in the blank there, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah. So it all comes around, right?
Yes, for sure. Like
Yeah.
what inspired you to like explore a different path and begin
Mm.
searching for ways to support your body's like natural healing abilities? I know you mentioned about going to the massage therapist and really becoming
Right.
present. What inspired you to try or explore those different paths?
Yeah. I appreciate that question. I I had, I was it took me many years to become symptom free. It didn't happen overnight. I went through all the things that we go through with lupus. I
Mm,
was airlifted I had just this small surgery, small
mm,
surgery. And I ended up getting, that's a whole complication, but I got anesthesia that didn't work well for me.
mm.
And so then I was airlifted out of my home because my
Wow.
lung collapsed. And I had called my doctor, and I was going to be honest. When the hospital said, "Do you have someone home with you?" I said, "Yes, I do," and I didn't. Like,
Mm,
I didn't know how to. At the time, I was newly divorced and blah
mhm.
blah blah. Right.
Yeah.
So, I called my doctor. I was like, "Something's wrong," and she's like, "You need to call 911,
Mhm,
immediately."
mm,
And I was actually, at the time, I was serving as a first responder, as a
mm,
firefighter,
mhm.
volunteer on our department. And I was like, well, I don't want to call 911 because, like, they know me. Those guys know me. And she's like, well, good, then they'll take good care of you.
For sure.
So,
Yeah.
right. So then she was like, hang up and call. And then she called me right back, and she's like, did you call? And she's like, well, and so she's like, I'm gonna call.
Mhm,
So anyway, they came in, and I was airlifted out, and I had what they call a cascade. So
mm.
then I had pericarditis. I had fluid on my heart, and then my kidneys
Wow.
started shutting down, and it was,
Wow.
and after that, like, when I was recovering and trying, it was just a really hard time.
Mhm,
Um, I felt like, and I was working in therapy. So
mhm.
therapy was key for all of this. Like, I'm going to just say, like, flat out, like,
For
get,
sure.
get therapy,
Mhm.
like, do it, face your demons, deal with your things, because
Yeah.
the reality is, if you don't deal with them, they will deal with you. And people used to say that. I'd hear that, and I'm like, what
Yeah.
does that even mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, now I
Now we
understand.
know. Yeah.
Now we know. Now we get it.
Hmm.
But yeah, totally do it. Like no
Hmm.
matter how hard it is, it's not as hard as living with that stuff for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And all of it, so much of it is shame based, right? So
Hmm.
we're sitting here like telling ourselves these bad things and speaking to ourselves as we would never speak to a friend, and that's all part of it.
Yeah.
That's all part of it. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many things that are connected. So yeah, so after that ordeal, and just like, you know i I mean, I sort of remember just like that kind of miasma around all of that, and thinking, one of the things that kept coming to me, kind of
Hmm.
like, how should I live, was, I don't want to be defined this way. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
this to be what I am and who I am and how I live, and all the time and all the things. I
Right.
was like, I just, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And so I started looking at different things, and I was really fortunate. I had a class that was a deep meditation class, and I'd not really been introduced to, anything like that.
Hmm.
And it was transformational for me. And it's funny because I didn't remember that till just now.
Yeah.
But I remembered like feeling the energy, like feeling that, kind of ball of energy that you can kind of feel when you're really there and tapped
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was completely, I was like, there's something more there that that wants to be healing.
Yeah.
And on the way home from that, I remember I stopped at a health food market.
Hmm.
And I'm lucky because I'm in Colorado, and there's a lot of that here. So I picked up a book called Healing Hands, and just like talking about, our own direction of healing.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was like, I didn't remember any of that till just now. So I really didn't. I'm like, I was like thinking about other things, but that's what's real. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like one thing that I love about your story is that it highlights how healing often, involves more than one approach. Like it can be
Right.
physical, like you said, emotional, mental, and even spiritual, or energy wise. Even when we talk about the ball of the energy, I think,
Right.
it can be all of those things.
And it's
I,
non-linear, right? Like,
hmm.
it's non-linear. It's not about swallowing a pill. Like,
Yeah.
that's a mentality that I think is just so harmful. Like,
Mm.
here, we're going to give you this pill, and then, and not to say that Western medicine doesn't have its place, because it so does.
Yeah. It really
It
does. Yeah.
so does. And I think that really learning to kind of marry those two is,
For
for me, was
sure.
really key.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm going to go to my acupuncturist, and I'm going to, go to my nutritionist. I'm going to, get,
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that my doctor said to me, is she was like, which I felt was maybe some of the best advice I'd ever received, to be
Hmm.
honest, is she
Hmm.
said, well, what I said to her was, I want to deny the fact that I have this. I want to deny it.
Hmm.
I want to live in denial.
Hmm.
I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to
Yeah.
tell anybody. I don't want to do anything.
Hmm.
And she's like, live in denial. That's fine. And what I was saying was like, I want to live my life, right? I just want to
Yes.
live like I hate to say, like a normal person. I'm just going to
Yeah.
say it. So, and she was like, well, do that.
Hmm.
Live as you would live, and live in denial, and don't, but come back here every 6 months and have your blood taken, and we
Yeah.
will look at that.
Hmm.
You know, so she's saying, don't, stay grounded,
Hmm.
don't, that we need to know what's really going on,
Hmm.
all the time. And what that led to was watching my ANA drop
Hmm.
steadily, kept coming
Hmm.
down and kept coming down. And it was so encouraging. It
Yeah.
was so encouraging.
Yeah.
And when I read, I'm sure a lot of you have read The Body Keeps the Score.
Hmm.
And when I read that, that was so validating for me. It
Yes.
was so much of what I felt like I had applied to my own journey. And that,
Yes.
before that was written, and no one talked about mindset. Nobody
Hmm.
talked about mind body connection. I had to
For
like
sure.
dig for that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Those are great points. It's so funny because so many of the things that you're mentioning, I can relate to too. It's just, I remember or just in my journey of healing, growing, and self awareness and personal development, I too came to that realization of, hey, I may not remember, but my body does. And also, sometimes when we have certain thoughts or behaviors, and they may not play out today because today's a good day, but maybe in another
Yeah,
conversation, it will.
exactly.
So it is important to just try your best to show
Mhm.
yourself some grace, but also accountability. And like you say, do not claim it. I feel like sometimes we forget how powerful our words are. It's not really living in denial. It's more so of, I'm not speaking it into existence.
Yes, I
You
agree with
know?
that. I agree with
Yeah.
that. And I didn't really, those were the words I had at the time, but I think that, yes, 100, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
it's a more beautiful space
For
to
sure.
inhabit, right?
Yeah.
But, we start where we start, and we
Of
have to,
course.
and um, I think that, taking on that identity, and it's, it's such a process, isn't it? Like there's so much
Mhm.
learning. It's like there's just,
Oh my
and
God.
that's okay too.
Endless.
Like, right, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. We're going to be
Exactly.
learning every day of the rest of our
Yep.
lives. You know, we're
We
learning
hope
and
so anyway,
growing.
right?
We hope so, and then we choose to. You know, we choose to. Some
Yeah,
people may not choose to. But I think that's
100%.
the beauty of evolving, in a sense.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned about music earlier, how music became an important
Yes.
part of your healing journey. You know, can you share when you first recognized that music was doing more than simply like helping you relax, that it was actually
Yeah.
becoming a meaningful tool in your overall wellness practice?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I'm going to back up just a little. Music has always been just a huge part of my life.
Mhm.
And so, like, my father would wake us up to the 1812 overture. So
Mm,
that was like, it was always there. And I played the guitar, I sang, I was in a choir, and choir is about listening and
mm,
hearing. Music
mhm,
is about hearing, you
mhm,
know. Um, and I went to Allstate, and actually had the solo at Allstate, which was incredibly affirming. Um, and those things, all of the being surrounded by music, um, it sort of creeped in. Like I
mm,
don't like if I had to pinpoint a moment, it would be, kind of what I mentioned earlier, which was learning to live in my body, like learning, and that kind of led to that recognition of resonance of music, like that kind of, like, as much as I'd always been surrounded by it, and was a musician, I'm a musician and all of those things, allowing that to sink in, I guess,
mm,
and really recognizing. So I was, I'm getting massage, and because I wasn't living in my body, and so learning to wake up to my body in that massage session, and then becoming more aware then of the music that they chose to play, and
mm, mhm,
um and then recognizing like the resonance.
mhm.
So I think that was probably like, if I
Yeah.
I had to really think about that, but
Yeah.
I definitely think that's, that was
Mhm,
it, because that was when my body was waking up,
mhm,
right? I was waking up to my body.
mhm,
And so recognizing the power
mhm.
behind, not just the affirmation, the other good things about music, but really that strength there,
Yeah.
for sure.
Sure. I can definitely relate to that. I know for me, the same thing, I feel like there was a portion of my life, or a lot of my life, where I wasn't present, in my body, like you
Yeah.
mentioned. And as I'm starting
Yeah.
to awake or be more aware, I too notice music more so for how I felt after I listened to it. And a lot of it started from instrumentals. I grew up with my grandfather playing jazz music all the time in his nice Cadillac, and it was just jazz, no singing along, just the instruments, and just seeing how great I felt. And then I started learning on my journey about binary beats or binaural beats. And that
Yeah.
was really
Yeah. Me
helpful,
too.
in my sleep. So I constantly have it playing in my home. I never turn it off because it reminds me of the vibration and the level of energy I need to be on. Sometimes I may forget because I work from home, high stress. So it's kind of like
Right.
a reminder of this is the energy where you're supposed to be at. And it kind of helps me to get there quicker. And it is kind of transformative. I know a lot of times we think of
Yeah,
music
it
as
is.
entertainment, but there's so much emerging research that I have found too that you can look up is really showing that it may or it does influence our bodies in ways that we're really only beginning to understand. I mean, down to a cellular level. I think that's pretty deep and genetic too.
Absolutely.
And I think that if sound
Yeah.
can do that, wow, that is magnificent.
Yeah.
I know as
I go ahead.
oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh yeah, no worries. I was gonna say that I really appreciate instrumental music and grew up with it and as well. And it was more
Mhm.
like my dad was more like into classical, and he was a audiophile, so he it was
Mm,
all the things. But
yeah.
but growing up that way, and like my playlist, I have a playlist that is all instrumental. It's like 9 hours or something, or 12 hours, I don't know. But it's
Hmm.
all like, and it's all kinds of stuff. It's like, I love listening to soundtracks.
Hmm.
Like I love John Williams, and I love, like, the theme to Jurassic Park, and so I love all of that too. So
Hmm.
I have this purely instrumental that I use for working, and I
Hmm.
just,
Hmm.
it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite playlists.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about music is that it bypasses the thinking brain,
Mm,
and it goes directly to the limbic system.
mm, hmm.
So our bodies respond on that level.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with that part of our brain that causes us stress, that causes
Mm,
us,
hmm.
the overthinking or the worry, or it just bypasses that altogether.
Hmm.
And so when we're engaged in music, you're not engaged in those other things. You're not engaged in the worry.
Hmm.
You're not engaged in the what am I supposed to do, and or thinking about yesterday, or projecting into the future, which are
Hmm.
which are both causes of stress, right?
Yeah.
Not being
Yeah.
in the present.
Hmm.
Music requires you to be in the here and now.
Yeah.
And so you're not allowed to be stressing out when
Hmm.
you're deeply engaged in what you're listening to.
Yeah. That was a deep point. I feel like you just explained the connection between sound, vibration, and the body's healing process. Just now.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, for sure. One topic that frequently in the holistic wellness community that comes up is nervous system regulation. I feel like I talk about this at
Absolutely.
least, I don't know, once a week. I'm doing some
I'm
video
sure.
or
And what
or
I'm
explaining
sure.
something about
Yeah.
nervous system regulation. More health practitioners, they are recognizing, how important it
Yeah.
is to create safety and balance within the body. And like you mentioned earlier, stress is a significant factor in
Huge.
many chronic health conditions, you
Right?
know.
Exactly.
Um, how we spoke on it a little bit, but I just kind of want you to go more into depth on how did music and meditation really help you regulate stress, support your nervous system, and create an environment where healing could occur.
Right, right. Yeah. And I just will add also, and I won't go into this so much, but sleep is the other one. So
Hmm.
so music, meditate, that kind of, but actual deep sleep, like
Deep sleep,
people, I think, underrate. And why you're
rest.
talking about binaural beats, right? Like
Hmm.
binaural beats will take you into that deep sleep
Hmm.
where your body can heal, because I think a lot of people do not realize that the body does not heal at the cellular level unless you're in, it's actually post REM sleep. So after
Hmm.
you dream, you drop into deep sleep. And so the
Hmm.
binaural beats help you get there. And it's super important, I
Hmm.
think, what you're saying there about, and that ties right back to music, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
binaural beats
For sure.
are a type of music, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're engaged there. But I, so the way I use it personally, well, so one of the things that we'll do when we on the 20th
Mm-hmm.
is we're going to go through in the workshop. I'm going to take you through a way to use your playlists for different types of regulation and
Mm-hmm.
different types of needs. We
Yeah.
have different needs,
Mm-hmm.
and so music can speak to those different needs. Um, and so, we'll talk about that, and also journaling about our awareness
Mm-hmm.
of where how it influences us.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with music is that, and as thinking about your question, when I was thinking about your questions, one of the things that came to me is that music's so available to us. Like, it's such a great tool
Mm-hmm.
because we are living in an age where it's in your pocket all the time, whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just having that, I like to listen to books on tape. I like to listen to podcasts, but I really find myself I mostly listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's part of my how I it is it's part of how I self-regulate.
Mm-hmm.
It also, like I mentioned earlier about being in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
One of the a lot of times I'm asked at the end of a podcast, like, what is one thing that you could share that really helped and changed your life?
Mm-hmm.
And learning to live in the moment is up there.
Yeah.
It's so profound, and I think until you can experience it, and it's hard, it's not easy, it's a learning, that's a learning
Mm-hmm.
thing, to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to do that. um it's freedom. It's like, that's what freedom is, because you let
Mm-hmm.
go of the past and you let go of the future, and you're here and now, and you're present, and you're looking at what's happening in front of you through the
Mm-hmm.
lens of what's here and now, not resentment or worry or any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Music puts you there. It's and the value of that, like, I can't even overstate
Mm-hmm.
the value of being in the here and now, and not allowing your, and I say allowing lightly because it's hard. I'm not trying to minimize what it takes to be able to move out of that,
Mm-hmm.
because it can be hard.
Yeah.
But learning to is so worthwhile, because you when you move out of, when you're thinking about the future, it's anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's when you're in the moment of music, that can't be a part of your nervous system. Your nervous system isn't responding to what if,
Yeah.
or any of those things. So it's incredibly healing in a way that I think that um I think we just, like, as you were saying, like, are only beginning to really
Yeah.
understand as we talk
Mm-hmm.
about regulating our nervous system, and so we talk about the value of safety, and we talk about those sorts of things in our healing process. So yeah, and so you were really asking me how I use it. So I'll tell you how I use it. I'm in Colorado. I have a inflatable hot tub in my basement. We have an unfinished basement, and I hung like shower curtains that are all botanical, and I have my things that are meaningful to me. I'm very deliberate with my choices of incense. I have different types of incense for as I set my intention for my day. So
Yeah.
I have like when I'm doing business, and I have to like really do like when I have to do like business money, hardcore business things,
Yeah.
then I have my dragon incense for that. So like the
Yeah.
for the right.
I love
And
that.
then I have jasmine for like
Mm-hmm.
days that I'm like, well, I need to be on the computer and I need to be doing these things, but I don't feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm. And then I use gosh, what else? I use Nag Champa for just like really, when I'm going to be like with friends and I just want to, have a nice, so I'm very deliberate in those choices in the morning. And then, I also, so when I'm in the hot tub, I use therapeutic bands. So to help strengthen and just, be good to my body. I sometimes will do yoga because the buoyancy of the water really helps that too. And I'm a water person. I'm a Capricorn. So I'm like water and mountains. So, yeah. And then, and always, 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 always music. Always music. So I have a playlist that I've built over a long time. And sometimes I do, when I'm doing meditation, I will do like a guided meditation if I'm like in that mind frame. I'm like, I want to do like some kind of specific, but like one I listen to a lot is fun just for gratitude, because of course, gratitude is the fastest path to joy. Listen to that again.
Yeah.
Gratitude is the fastest path to joy. And that alone is a huge shift that can really change your whole life. Just practicing gratitude on a daily basis. So I try to do that too. Like I try to, but always with music like that and I'm very deliberate in my healing. And if I am, dealing with something or, whatever, that's the place that I let it go. I realize not everybody can do that. Like I realize like not everybody can put an inflatable hot tub in their basement. And I'm very, very grateful that I can do that.
Yeah.
But some kind of space, it doesn't have to be, but a place where you can focus and not have distractions. Like that's my space. So I'm very fortunate. But yeah, that and always just the music. There are on the playlist that I have, and I can share that with you, and you can share with your listeners. Some of them are very deliberate about, with healing. These are frequencies for healing. And and then as I do that, I will visualize, the healing that I need. Lately, I've been having pain in my hip because I'm getting older. And so I have this pain in my left hip. And so that's been really, my focus, and it helps. I mean, it helps. It's also, yeah, it definitely, but healing different parts of my body have definitely been through that process of, and I have conversations with my immune system. So I think that's an important thing to point out here. One of the ways that I absolutely reversed lupus was taking control, maybe giving myself permission to be in control of my own immune system. And meaning that, again, like I was saying earlier, recognizing what's happening in my body at a cellular level, understanding B cells, and that they don't mature and they don't go through to the spleen and lymphatic system. And so they kind of wander around your bloodstream, kind of looking for trouble. And so they attach to the DNA and RNA. So when cells die, which they do all day, every day, they release the proteins. And so our bodies then make this antibody that it attacks those proteins. And then it basically clogs up the works. Like it's like literally like a gunk. Like I'm not even, and there are ways that your body has to clear that is fine, but these antibodies won't allow that. And so it triggers the immune response all over, like even because then it's like, oh, something's wrong. We're gonna, right? So I would have this conversation with my immune system and like, this is off limits. Like you need to not be doing this. And, you need to be, let the other systems clean up the mess, and you're fine. And And like, my blood tests over that time,
Mm-hmm.
my antibodies just kept going down, and they have been zero. They will tell you that you can't ever actually have a negative ANA
Mm-hmm.
if you have lupus, because the whole, an antibody's job is to live in your body and attack what it's been programmed to attack. The problem is with these B cells, they never got programmed. They didn't go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So the so our immune system, is doing what it's been told to do.
Yeah.
It goes through programming. And so I'm like, well, I'll program you then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll tell you what to do. Like, you don't have to go to my spleen. I will tell you what to do.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. My body eventually stopped producing them. And I have a negative ANA. There's no discernible antibody in my bloodstream, and hasn't been for 20 years.
That's
So, and
awesome.
I'm symptom free. Like, I haven't had, no doctor would diagnose me. Like, I was talking to my doctor about this. That's who I really, really like. And I was talking to her about this, and I said, I was like, no doctor would diagnose me with lupus today. And she's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
and people will tell you, it's like, well, that can't be done. And it's like, well,
Well, it can.
it can.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It can. It
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely fascinated by this story. And I know that some listeners may be fascinated by this conversation but still wondering if they need special equipment, training, musical talent to experience these benefits. But like you clearly laid out, it seems like these are all things that are accessible, like we can go to YouTube, find the guided meditation for free. We can even record our own meditations and guide ourselves, maybe. There's
Very
so much
powerful.
information that is accessible. You can even join or meet up with our BeReleafed every month and still be able to learn some tools that you can take. And sometimes I feel like people overcomplicate the process, but just
Oh my
being
gosh, so much.
intentional, like you said, is major. I mean, just intentional on the environment, even you lighting incense, that's a small but intentional, major impact thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Doing some therapeutic exercises within the water. Those are small things. Like we are now going to summer, we're going to be in pools now, maybe some beaches.
Yeah.
And why
Yeah.
not just
Right.
do a little extra to help sustain our
Mhm.
bodies, And I love what you
Yes.
said about giving direction to our autoimmune systems or just our systems in general. It reminds me of
Right.
my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law tells me almost every time I talk to her, she's like, look, you have to speak to your organs. And so we always talk like, oh, hi, heart. Oh, hi, skin. And, and we're
Love that.
telling it what
I
we
love
need and
that.
what we want.
That's super powerful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you mentioned, if we think about it being programmed, it's like, well, who's running the program if you're not giving direction? And,
Yep.
or if you have a higher power.
And if you're giving direction in a way that is self-loathing,
Hmm.
self, when so many of us, I think, I was really struck by Brene Brown. I remember hearing her for the first time saying, when I figured out that I spoke to myself in a way that I would never speak to that I would never speak to someone I didn't like,
Hmm.
I knew something needed to change,
Yeah.
right? We talk to ourselves in a way that we would never talk to someone,
Hmm.
like the things that we tell ourselves. And so it works both ways. So
Hmm.
that, that programming that, okay, I'm going to love my skin. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to love loving our bodies no matter what is so hard for
Hmm.
us in this culture, right?
Yeah,
We're
for
supposed to
sure.
be this, or we're supposed to be that, or we're supposed to be whatever, whatever unachievable thing it is that they're
Hmm.
throwing at you.
Yeah.
And so we're all like chasing this, non-existent thing, and berating ourselves for not being this non-existent thing. So that's a tough road for women, I think. And so learning that, that speaking to ourselves in that language and speaking to ourselves is right. Like that's like, and that's not a good word to use, but you know what I mean? it's healing,
Mm-hmm.
it's nurturing,
Mm-hmm.
it's loving. And I think so many of us just don't even learn that at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
just those sorts of things, those loving things and self-care and all of those things aren't just like, oh well, trendy or whatever.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. These are the things that are gonna like bring you from having an off the charts ANA with lupus to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, being symptom free for 20 years. So
For sure.
they're not small things. They're
Yeah.
not small
Yeah.
things.
They seem small, but they're not small. I think that people get simple and small together because it is simple, but it may not be easy because it doesn't always feel good, to heal or to deal with the root causes of certain thoughts, feelings, experiences. And it's sometimes healing is painful, but I think that it's worth that immediate pain for everlasting peace that can occur
Exactly.
from you dealing with those things. I know that
Exactly.
you shared with me a little bit of your presentation for June 20th. And,
Yeah.
I won't say too much, but I just really appreciate your presentation that it combines, lived experience, which I love, with scientific evidence, which I love too, but helping to bridge the gap, between what people feel and what research is beginning to validate now, which I'm
Yes.
excited about. We're releasing those
Me too.
papers. I love
Me
that.
too.
And
Yeah.
it's just
And I love
amazing.
that I love that it's becoming more mainstream.
Of
Like
course,
I
yeah.
love the fact that like people read The Body Keeps the Score. People read,
Hmm.
Attached. People read those books that
Hmm.
are talking about um those the way that we kind of end up where we are, if that makes sense. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's like, well, these are the things, and we didn't maybe have control over those things.
Hmm.
And but we're still influenced by
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
We're still and I say a lot, and I've said this a lot in podcasts, but I had a stalker when I was 10
Mm.
and was raped. And
Mhm.
for about a year. And
Mhm.
and one of the things in The Body Keeps the Score that he talks about is like drawing that direct connection, right? Like
Mhm.
there's a direct connection to that,
Yeah.
from that and autoimmune. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, like so. And it meant so much to me personally, and also as someone who shares these things, as that connection was so just blatantly pointed out, right?
Mhm.
It's like, well, here's how it works, right?
Mhm.
But it helps to, as we were talking about earlier, like doing therapy, right? It
Mhm.
helps us to know um, that we're not alone,
Yeah.
that that this experience, that we can heal from this
Mhm.
experience, that others, because it doesn't feel like that when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Like it's
Mhm.
hard, you can't really, when you're in the weeds, you can't really see the other side.
Yeah.
So hearing those voices and saying, yeah, this is how it works. Like
Yeah.
it's not that you're, defective. It's not
Mhm.
that, somehow you are bad or somehow whatever, like insert. It's, this is the path that happens. And
Yeah.
you've got, you can do this too. Like you can do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an important
Yeah.
lesson. Well, first, just thank you for opening up to us and sharing your story. When we talk about healing, it's easy to focus on the tools and, like you said, the techniques, but really the mindset,
Yeah.
behind
Oh
the
my gosh,
journey
yeah.
can be equally important.
Absolutely.
And I guess looking
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Looking back on your own experience, what role did hope, intention, even consistency and belief, even in the body's ability to heal, play in your recovery process?
It's it's kind of, I want to say it's everything. I hate to use that though. I'm hesitated to
Mm.
say that because, nothing is everything, but it's really important. I think mindset, the whole idea of mindset, which is again is something that nobody talked about when I was working through these things. But what I would hear a lot is, you're so resilient, right? Oh, there's so much resilience. And I think that word gets thrown around a lot. I think that what I realized when I was like, well, what does that even look like, right, on a day-to-day basis? And I think that one of them was hope, like, which goes with like belief that this can be done. Like, I don't think I ever was just like, well, I just can't do this. Like, well, that's probably not true. I mean, it's been a long time, but I think having that, the hope to allow yourself, again, to talk to yourself in the way that is loving and kind, and also to be able to talk yourself. Sometimes we just have to talk ourselves into things. Right? Like sometimes we really just have to say, like, you can do this, you can, you can face this, you can take that step, you can do that. And I think that goes hand in hand with hope, right? Like it's like, I wouldn't take that step if I didn't think that I could get to the other side. So no, believing that I really can do that, I can do this, no matter how much people said, no, you can't, because they do tell you that. If I tell people when I tell people that people can get angry. It's an interesting response, but they get angry. No, you can't. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a whole nother topic, but anyway, but I think back to hope, I think is, and the ability to just like, and mindset. When people would say, you're so resilient, and I really had to drill down and I was like, what does that even mean? Like, it's a word we use, but what does that look like on a moment to moment or day-to-day basis? And what I realized is, going back in my mind to dealing with the things I dealt with, it literally is like mindset. It's taking control of the voice in my head to say, all right, here it is. And I always think of this. I don't think we have time for me to tell you that story, but I always think about when I lived in San Diego. I don't want to go into it, but anyway, I really had a moment where I thought, you either need to go out and I was agoraphobic. I'll put that part in, because I'd had a stalker, which never leaves you ever. It still hasn't left. Just part of my life.
Yeah.
But when I was living there, I became agoraphobic because I didn't understand any of it. Didn't understand anything. Panic attacks, all the things, right? And I remember thinking to myself, like, and I couldn't leave my apartment, and I was lying to my husband to tell him that I was doing things that I wasn't, because I was ashamed. And so, having to tell myself, like, you either need to get out of this apartment and go get yourself a job, which ended up being in a clown shop, which was, I hate clowns. So that was the universe laughing at me. And then I got a job at Walden Books, which is, of course, much more up my alley. But that, really literally thinking I need to go get a job, or I need to walk to the nearest hospital and like tell them that they need to like admit me, because I was not in control.
Yeah.
And coming out of that was so, was 100% about how I spoke to myself. And I remember my therapist Carolyn saying years later, she's like, people don't usually talk themselves out of agoraphobia. I just want you to know that.
Yeah.
She's like, people don't usually, that's not something that most people can talk their way out of. And she was reaffirming my ability to use my mindset, right? Like, we didn't use that word then, but because I was like in the 90s, a million years ago. But, she was like, that's what she was saying. She said, you've got a strong mind, and to you, reaffirming that, that's the way to do it, right? That's the way to do it, right? So and I was so fortunate to have her in my life.
Yeah.
So to help me through that stuff
Yeah, that is
and
amazing.
recognize it.
Yeah, that is so amazing
Yeah.
to have someone in your corner like that. I just
Yeah. I was
imagine
lucky.
that many people, listening today, maybe currently facing health challenges of their own and searching
Yeah.
for encouragement.
Right.
And I love what you said. I know Donna Lawrence wrote a song about, encouraging yourself. Sometimes people will
Yeah.
encourage you and maybe it won't even land because you have to encourage yourself in a way.
Yeah.
And mindset shifts, it's amazing what the mind can do. It's amazing what the body can
Yeah.
do in response to the mind. So we just have to try. I feel like trying today, just focus on today, on just trying
Oh
to,
yeah.
give yourself a little grace, but also take a proactive approach in your healing journey. And even if you have to have, like how you mentioned earlier, multiple doctors, multiple specialists, I think of it like
Absolutely.
we're the lead doctor, right? And sometimes
Yep.
you have people who have different specialties, and maybe having a team with different specialties, you can get a bigger picture. It's almost like gaining
Right.
professional medical advice. And also, maybe they have tools and machineries and testing that you can even do to get a little bit more aware of where you are, your markers, and where they stand. And so sometimes
Yes.
I
I
do
think that's important.
yeah, I do try to let people know, like, hey, be your own doctor as well. And don't
Yep.
be afraid to ask questions. If you don't understand the words, because there are a lot of big words, a lot of 18 syllable words.
Yeah.
But,
Right. Totally true.
yeah, don't be afraid to highlight things, look it up later, get some time. They
Mhm.
hand you a whole stack of, papers and they want you to sign it. Like, it's okay to say, give me a minute. I'll come back when I'm done. Or, asking your friends. I have so many friends who are registered nurses or doctors. I have cousins in college. Like, don't be afraid to tap into your network. And if you are someone who feel like they're alone, there's so many people online that are available to help
Yeah.
you, on your
That's what
journey.
I was going to say too.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah, because
never
and
alone.
joining those groups, yeah, absolutely. And joining those groups are so helpful. Like
Yeah.
we didn't really talk about it, but I have celiac now. So
Mm.
like that's, was huge because my diagnosis there was like I'm a food writer. So I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I joining groups and finding support and talking to people who've been through it and how do I do this and how do I do that? And you know what? They'll tell you. They'll
Yeah.
help you.
For
You
sure.
know,
Yeah.
be careful though because like one of the things that I found in some of the lupus groups, they're not they're not uplifting. Like they're not supportive. They really just it's really just a place to go to say I really feel horrible. And not that there's nothing wrong with going, needing to vent and needing to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it because autoimmune conditions, lupus, but not just lupus, they're hard. They're hard, they're difficult, and you need that. You need that outlet.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't be everything all the time. Like it
Yeah.
can't that can't be the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And look for that. Like when you're looking for support and you're looking for a way, a pathway to healing and you're looking, be sure that people are talking about healing.
Mm-hmm.
Be sure that people are talking about like, oh well, I'm doing, I'm whatever. Like make just not always
Mm-hmm.
talking about the difficulties of the condition and not that they don't exist because
Yeah,
they sure do.
for sure.
But yeah, but
Mhm.
you really want to be hearing messages and sending yourself messages of healing and like these are the ways that this is what I'm doing or I'm trying this, food or I'm eating whole foods or I'm
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah,
Just look for those things. Yeah.
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 I mean, thank you for sharing that because that is true. A lot of times we do get into groups and you really are looking for that safe space, to share, to be
Sure.
understood. But
Yeah.
also don't forget the healing part, Sometimes we get stuck
Hmm.
in the venting and the woe is me
Yes.
that we don't really talk more about the healing and that it is you and it was divinely put in your path for whatever reasons and that there is something to learn
Hmm.
from it. It's often a journey
Yes.
rather than a destination. So even when you do have something,
Hmm.
it's not
That's so
the
true.
final thing. It's just the journey of this experience. It's something from the experience that you're supposed to learn and grow from in some type of shape and form.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I like to look at it, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I have my autoimmune empowerment guides, and one of the things that, you know, I really tell people is, you know, to see your autoimmune diagnosis as a opportunity to change your relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a time to reassess your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's where all of that, what we've talked about, fits in, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
all of that of self-discovery and support and
Mm-hmm.
self-love, and
Yeah.
it all, and like you said, it's like it's there's no, it's not just one thing.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I know we're
Yeah.
running out of time right now, but I know
Yes.
that on June 20th, you'll be presenting the Renaissance of
Yes.
Healing, you know, how music
Yep.
supports mental and physical well-being. So I am very excited about this. I'm pretty sure our
Yeah.
listeners are too. So just Annie, thank you
And well, I'll
so
have
much.
practical steps for you too, like practical steps, and a couple of guides that I've
Yeah.
got to give you.
I love practical steps, even sometimes,
Yes.
you know,
We need that.
interactive components. I love that as well. You
Yep.
know, give me something that I
Yep.
can use today. So I'm just so
Yeah.
happy. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks
Yep.
so
Yep.
much for your wisdom,
Oh,
your
thank you,
experience,
Ashlee.
and your inspiring story. I mean, it was so
I
inspiring.
appreciate that.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that inspiring story with us today.
Yeah,
And to
absolutely.
everyone that's listening, you know, this conversation resonated with you. Be sure to join us on June 20th for our Be Relief by Sound online summit. You know, Annie will be diving deeper. Okay, she's giving us practical tools. She said,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know,
For
diving
sure.
deeper in science and, you know, the practical applications of music, sound, and healing. And you'll walk away with tools. You heard her. Tools, some
Yep.
resources that you can begin using, you know, immediately to support your own wellness journey. So thank you all
Yes.
for listening, and we'll see you at the Be Relief by Sound on June 20th. Any last words, Annie?
I'm really looking forward to working with you and helping to give you some of the tools that will really help ease your life. I hope
Yeah.
help ease your life.
We love that. We love a little bit more ease. I think we all need that
Isn't
during
that
these
the truth?
times.
Oh my goodness.
For sure. Yeah. So thank all of
Right?
you for listening to us, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you for subscribing and commenting. I've been getting some emails from you all. I'll be talking on those topics soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to Be Relief. I appreciate all of your support, and I hope to see you all on June 20th with me,
Yeah.
Annie, and Elle. So we'll see you guys
Yes.
soon. All right. Talk to you later.
All right.